All right, welcome to another episode of the 5enses podcast. Robert Zinni here with one of my favorite people, Mikki Russ, who is a director who just released last year a short film called Out to Lunch, starring Toni Tennille from Yes, Captain and Tennille. She's also a great writer. She's wrote a couple monologues for the last Vagina Monologue piece here in Prescott. What have you been up to? Like, we worked together with Out to Lunch.
Yes,
right?
my cinematographer. So that's the thing. Brilliant. And editor. You did all the things. So many things.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So like you said, we had the movie out to film festivals that we had sent. And then now we're going to just go live with that.
Yeah.
May 1st.
May 1st.
So I'm excited.
Me too. So I don't know if a lot of people know what the movie's about, but could you explain like the premise about it?
So essentially, the movie stars three women. Two of the women are women in their 70s who are out to lunch. And they're at the great El Gato Azul, one of the best restaurants in Prescott, Arizona. If you get a chance, go. And Barry let us shoot there.
Yeah.
And then we had Trish, who was the server in the film. And it's basically the women exploring what feminism means and the rights that we have. And I think it's weird that we've just taken it for granted, really, that we're like, oh, we can go to college. Oh, we can go write a book. Oh, we can work outside of the home. Those things were fought for. And to that point, when I started to write the script, it was because I had overheard in another restaurant a woman kind of lamenting that she hated her job and hated school. And by the way, she hated feminists. And it just blew my mind. Like, well, how do you think you got because that was a thing that, okay. So, yeah. So the women just talk about their lives, and it's about friendship, and it's about loving each other as women.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting working with you on the film because if anybody has worked on a film, we spent hours upon hours editing, and there's a lot of facts that I didn't know that women didn't have their rights until like the 1970s. For one instance is owning a credit card without your husband's permission.
Certain banks didn't allow that. I mean, there were, and I was told after we made the film that there were banks that did let that happen, but that was even how was that a question? How did that become, I can't buy things?
Right.
Like, my God. So, yeah, it was illuminating for sure.
So you wrote it in the perspective of two older women, right?
Right.
So how was that process of writing it for two older white women, mind you?
Right.
Right.
I mean, I just feel like in this case, the race to me was sort of incidental because it's an experience that we all have as women, no matter what ethnicity. I had a wonderful sort of friend named Katie, and she's in that age group, and she's the one that told me how things were. So I just had to pick her brain. Like, how did we get from there to here? And she's like, well, back in my day. And then she told me about trying to work for the post office and that it was difficult because trying to get a promotion ahead of a man was nearly impossible. They just favored her male coworkers based largely on their genitalia, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, how did that become the measuring stick, if you will?
I mean, you make a
valid
point.
Question.
That's a good point. Yeah,
that has nothing to do with your performance, sir.
But like now with we've had the hashtag Me Too movement. I mean, it is 2020 and they're trying to curb that inequality in society. So your piece with Out to Lunch, I thought it was refreshing because you never really hear the older feminists that fought for everybody's rights now, their perspective. It's like, I think your line was, they don't know what feminism is. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. But it was going out in the picket lines, but then doing a social media post or stuff like that.
Right, and I was bringing up the whole, and it's fine. I realize that social media is how people are launching their careers, becoming influencers. I'm not opposed to that per se. I am opposed to people who are women who say, oh, well, I'm not a feminist, and then reap those benefits. Or I'm putting out a sex tape. You want to put out a sex tape? Totally do that. But then don't say, but I'm not an empowered woman. I don't believe in that ideology. That is your power that you're using, your body that you made that choice to do. Now, whether I would do that or not is beside the point. Just don't put other women down or say you're not part of the sisterhood, really, because of that.
Right. And have you seen or experienced other people who don't share those beliefs with you?
Well, again, it tends to be sort of a misguided perception that they aren't feminists But then they have all of these perks of feminism. Like, this has become the new F word somehow. If you are able to get an education and you're able to start your own life and make your own choices, that is the embodiment of feminism. I don't know when it became like hairy armpit, like, nothing wrong with that. But you know what I mean?
Okay.
There's this like renegade, violent, feminazi is a word that got thrown around years and years ago. Calm it down. It's just women doing their human thing, and that's an important factor.
Right. Could you just give a definition of feminism? Because I've definitely experienced women that are the feminazis, but also I've dealt with the other words. I guess that they put women over men first, or it's women first, or the future is female, or something like that.
Well, the future is all of us together. We're all in this boat together, and there shouldn't be a first. It's just, in my opinion, I'm not the big person I'm not the Webster's Dictionary of feminism, but in my opinion, it means we are equal in what we can endeavor towards, what we can achieve, and what we can idealize.
You were in the Vagina Monologues the last couple of years. You were the hostess with the mostest this year.
Thank you.
So how do you see your worldview in feminism being a part of all this, and writing Out to Lunch, which is a commentary on feminism?
Just that I feel free to be me or do what I want or continue to pursue creative endeavors to be able to pursue the betterment for my sister. The biggest moment of feminism in my life happened in Northern California when I was shooting pool with a bunch of women. And one of the women said something, shitty about the other woman. And then the woman came out, this other woman said, "Excuse me, no. We do not put down our sisters. Nope. Other people do that enough for us. We are in this together, and we never talk about our sisters." And I was like, I have found my people. Just be nice, just be decent. It's not that hard.
No, I don't think so. And so with the Vagina Monologues, you wrote a really amazing piece this year that was funny. So I would like you to talk about
the
that.
The Massager Homophobitron 2020.
Yes, where the woman doing the monologue is a call response woman, like customer service, because somebody wants to return this machine.
Right. Or get to know it better, depending on, So
what is the MGH?
The MGH is a misogynistic, homophobic robot in the embodiment of sort of that toxic masculinity. And I hate to just use these phrases that come, up, but that captures it pretty good.
Okay.
So if you've got a dude that's just like war movies all the time and the little woman in the kitchen, and I don't love that. If you love that, then you should be with that, I guess. But I had to talk about it.
Okay. So where did that inspiration come from? Because in your monologue, it's hilarious because it just picks out these traits that are just so ridiculous in my eyes, but people embody that.
Right. Well, if you have been around long enough,
right,
you just come across that sort of ideology, that mentality enough that you're thinking to yourself, whoa, you totally exist like that. And I'm mind blown. So that was just a moment to be able to go, I'm going to say all the things you say normally, like, oh, she's gay. Well, it's because she hadn't had none of this. Oh, that's totally the reason. I'm so glad you clarified, sir.
Right.
So it's not to put down men, but if you are that guy, I'm talking about you.
So where did your inspiration come from with direction with this film?
I think I just had an idea of what I wanted the scenes to look like. I wanted, we didn't stabilize the shots. I wanted that sort of handheld movement, like you were part of the dinner taking place or the lunch, so that you were feeling like you were maybe the third person there. And it was very easy to work with everybody because everybody on the set was already a great actor, had already done lots of things at the theater or on film themselves. So it was a very simple thing to just sort of capture the what was in my mind's eye. Did
you find any challenge trying to get things from your script onto the camera?
I don't remember having a sense of that. I just remember panicking about continuity for the most part, because this is very, very new to me. I had not directed films before. So to jump into it, having been on the other side of being directed for film or being directed for stage, then you're taking bits of what you learned in those experiences and be like, well, this is how I should do that. And it worked out, but boy, yeah, there were other things that were daunting to me.
Yeah, like what was so
Like
daunting?
the sun coming into our shot and doing weird things, and then I'm trying to like with the lights, and I'm like, how come we're not blocking out the sun? And turns out it's because we're not the sun. So you can't outshine the sun.
No, you cannot. No. Yeah, that was funny, like trying to get the continuity with the colorization, right?
Right.
Afterwards, because El Gato Azul, if you've ever been in it, just their painting of the walls is just phenomenal. It's a really nice piece. And then when we were filming, it was like, 8 to 10? It was like the golden hour. We had the best golden light in there, lighting up the two ladies that were having lunch there.
It was beautiful. I mean, that's why I wanted to shoot there.
Right. So how did you get legendary singer-songwriter, actress Tony Tennille to be a part of Out to Lunch?
She is a friend of mine. Okay. And so he said to her, I have a friend, Mikki, she writes screenplays and short plays. And I had written some short plays. And then we met, and she said, why don't you write something that somebody my age can play? And I was like, I'm totally doing that this week.
So you wait, hold on. So you tried to prove legendary Grammy Award winning
gauntlet was thrown
to Tony Tennille. Okay.
I was like, let me do that with you, okay? Mm-hmm. And we hit it off. She's great. She's a wonderful person. Julie Cargill came in. She's somebody I'd worked with at the theater. So it was super easy to just approach her and go, would you consider playing opposite Tony Tennille in this short film I'm going to make? Everything fell into place. Deb Gallegos from Making a Scene Productions came in and rock starred all of our equipment because she has a studio. Who knew? So it was just like perfect. You coming onto the scene, everything fell into place. So Tony Tennille, brilliant one.
With this whole journey now, like I know during that time you were making this film, you were also writing a novel.
Right.
Okay.
So I did that under a pen name.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it. But it's called True Dominion, or True Bradley, True Dominion. The character's name is True Bradley. She's a young lady. She's a vigilante.
Okay.
She's not here for your BS. And but she doesn't know how strong she is in the beginning, and it's sort of an evolution of her strength and coming into herself, and it was great fun to write it. So,
okay. So what is the premise of the book?
It is a fantasy novel, and it is about a special group of people pulling her in and letting her be special with them.
Okay.
And in a vigilante sense. I don't want to over-describe it.
Over-describe it? Okay. So when will we be getting our eyes on your book?
Yeah, so I'm waiting on cover art right now, and I actually might have just gotten in touch with the artist that's going to do it finally. You work, like, you're looking at it and you think to yourself, oh, this book cover might work, and then you're like, oh, maybe I want to go in a different direction. At least that's been my experience. So that's been the big holdup, and then I'm, like, in my head, like, am I just afraid of failure to put out my novel? And then the voice in my head's like, why do we have so many voices in our head? It's like we're schizophrenic. And then I answer that, and then I start again the next day.
All right. That's how the universe works sometimes,
yes.
Right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So what was the difference, or what is the difference between writing a screenplay and writing a novel?
So I found through different people giving me feedback on reading my writing that my strength is writing character dialogue, and that I maybe could use a little more honing in describing a shot, right, for screenplay purposes. And I would like to get better at that. But I think it's easy to write a novel because you're not doing like interior, exterior shot, and you're not saying these things before the dialogue. I find that to be a blocky process that I just need to fine tune a little bit. But I feel like I can. I did a full-length screenplay. It's just hard to sell a full-length screenplay. It turns out it's weird.
Right.
It's called The Kitty Night Coup. Eventually, I would like to get The Kitty Night Coup done too. But full-length is much more
tough. You have to get a production team, then you have to get a agent, then you have to pitch it.
And if you don't have an agent, then no one wants to talk to you. But you can't just go get an agent. I mean, I'm sure I'm saying this to people who know that already, but if you don't know that already, that is a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah. So what's your motivation behind creativity? It seems like you have your hand in a lot of different projects. You have some things that are finished, you're working on some. So what motivates you to be creative?
I think that's just my sort of therapy, honestly. Just to be able to kind of immerse yourself in a world that's not yours, to look at other characters and think they have experienced some of the things I've experienced, or what would it be like to be in their shoes in a situation that I can't even dream of doing. I mean, I'm dreaming of it, but you know what I mean? Something that's foreign. So getting to sort of travel the world in your mind or other people's experiences within yourself is enticing to me.
Yeah, why is it so enticing?
It's just a release, I feel like, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite like character perspective that you like to write about?
Not necessarily. I don't think that I mean, I guess I really do like writing about women because the Kitty Night Coup is about women, but it's like, that's like bubblegum, my Kitty Night Coup thing. It's fun. It's not supposed to be like, oh, we're changing the world and
Right.
hey, we're taking on feminism. It's just like, hey, these girls drink a lot of beer and they're on a road trip. Let's watch.
That sounds like a really good film, actually. Like,
It was, yeah.
it's been great catching up with you, Mikki. For those listening and watching the 5enses podcast, look out for Out to Lunch. That will be premiering May 1st. I'm sure we'll have some social media links, and it'll definitely be on YouTube. And again, check out Mikki Russ, Black Duchess Productions on Instagram. For more content, go to 5ensesmag.com. Find us on Facebook or Instagram.